you do with truth? What you do with truth is massively important. In fact, it has heaven and hell consequences. If you know, let's say that you've got your washing outside, it's on the line, it's a beautiful sunny day, but because you live in England, you know that in 5 minutes time it's going to tip it down with rain. Let's say that you know 100% that it's going to start to rain. What do? Well, you run outside and you grab your washing and you bring it in, because truth calls for a response, doesn't it? Truth has to be acted upon. And that's what we're going to see in our few minutes today as we look at Good Friday. We look at Jesus going to the cross, and there are three people that I want us to focus in on. Three of them know a truth about Jesus. All three of them know the same truth about Jesus, and two of them respond in the same way and one of them doesn't. And I would just want us to think about this and maybe learn something from the scenario today. The three people are Pilate, one of the thieves on the cross, and a centurion. These three guys all know the same truth about Jesus. That truth is that Jesus is innocent. Jesus has been arrested, he has been tried, and he's before Pilate, and Pilate knows that he's innocent. Then Jesus is on the cross, and one of the thieves on the cross knows that Jesus is innocent. And then when Jesus dies, one of the centurions says, "This man was innocent." Now, let's just look at those verses specifically so you can see it. Luke chapter 23, starting in verse 4. So this is Pilate recognizing that Jesus is sinless. It says in verse 4, "Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, 'I find no guilt in this man.'" Then in verse 14 of the same chapter, let's start from verse 13. "Pilate then called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people and said to them, 'You brought me this man as one who was misleading the people, and after examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of your charges against him.'" And then also in verse 22, "A third time he, Pilate, said to them, 'Why, what evil has he done? I have found in him no guilt deserving of death.'" Pilate recognizes that Jesus is innocent. Jesus has done nothing wrong. Jesus does not deserve to be put to death. Our second person is the thief on the cross. Look at verse 40 from chapter 23. Verse 40 says, "But the other guy on the cross, rebuked him, saying, 'Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong.'" So the thief on the cross recognizes that Jesus has done nothing wrong. He does not deserve to be put to death. He doesn't deserve to be on the cross. And then finally the centurion in verse 47. "Now when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, 'Certainly this man was innocent.'" Pilate recognizes that Jesus is innocent. The thief on the cross recognizes that Jesus is innocent. And the centurion recognizes that Jesus is innocent. But did you see the difference in responses? What you have from the thief on the cross, he recognizes that Jesus doesn't deserve to be there. But listen to these beautiful verses, verse 42 and 43. "And he said, 'Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom.'" The thief on the cross responds by saying to Jesus, "Remember me. I want to be associated with me. This truth that you're innocent now leads me to trust in you." The truth that he knew led to trust. And all through church history, people have recognized that that thief was saved in the kind of last moments of his life. On Good Friday, he's leaving it pretty late, he puts his trust in Jesus Christ. The truth that began with him recognizes that Jesus was innocent. What about the centurion? It says, let's read that verse again, verse 47. "Now when the centurion saw what had taken place, he what? He praised God, saying, 'Certainly this man was innocent.'" So the thief on the cross recognizes that Jesus is innocent. The centurion recognizes that Jesus is innocent, and he praises God. What a beautiful phrase. He responds in trust. The truth that he knows that Jesus is innocent leads him to trust in Jesus Christ. Now, what about Pilate? What does Pilate do? Pilate recognizes three times that Jesus is innocent, that he doesn't deserve to be put to death, what does he do with that truth? He suppresses the truth. He knows that Jesus is innocent, but instead of responding in truth, instead of letting Jesus go, he condemns him to death. He gives him over to the will of the religious leaders who wanted Jesus to be tortured and killed. Now, you and I know that Jesus had to go to the cross. There is a grander plan that God is working through the events of this day, but Pilate will be held accountable for what he did. He knew the truth, but the truth did not set him free because he did not allow the word of God to take root in his life. And I wanted to finish there in John chapter 8, because this is a verse that many of us quote very often. John 8 verse 32, and you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And you go, well, actually, Pilate knew something of the truth. He knew that Jesus was innocent. Then why didn't it set him free? Well, Jesus goes on to say in verse 36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. You can know the truth, but actually Jesus has to do something on and in your life. And then verse 37, I know that you are offsprings of Abraham, yet you seek to kill me because what? My word finds no place in you. It's one thing to know the truth. It's another thing for that truth to take root in your heart, for the word of truth to remain in you, to find a place within you, and for you then, for that truth to become trust. So this Good Friday, when we think about the death of Jesus Christ, a substitutionary death, a death for sinners, without which none of us would have any hope of salvation. It's one thing to know some of that truth. It's another thing for that truth to take root and for that truth to bear fruit and that truth to be trusted in your life. I pray that you would be someone that clings to the truth of Good Friday, and that Good Friday then would lead to the silence of Saturday and also the surprise of Sunday when Jesus Christ rises from the grave, is resurrected, and the cross is no longer occupied with Jesus. The cross is shattered and Jesus is risen.